Hello, you got the Hatch Home Sisters here. I'm Michelle Dacombe and this is Angela Stevens. And here we are in 2026 and it's already month 3. Every year we cast our predictions for the year ahead, pulling from multiple reports across industry leaders. And today we are focusing on what the year will look like for home buyers.
Yeah, the annual vision speech from the Keller Williams founder Gary Keller was released, and we have so much valuable data to go off of, so let's dive in. We're going to look at 4 things today: buyer competition, what prices are doing, common struggles, and benefits for buyers in this market.
First, let's talk about competition. What we're actually seeing in 2026 is not a crash, it's not a frenzy either, it's something very different.
They call it a balanced market. What that means is the market isn't swayed in favor of sellers or buyers overall. It really depends on price point, area, and the house condition. Already this year, competition is back in full force for many homes. We've had a recent listing that I put live, and within 48 hours, I had 25 showings scheduled. That shows you that buyers are out and they are ready to pounce.
And one agent told us that their buyer offered way over asking in cash and didn't even secure a backup position. But then the house over there only sells after a huge price drop. So to be clear, this is happening in a certain price point in neighborhoods, not every single one, but the competition is real, especially if a home is super dialed in.
As a buyer, you will absolutely need to keep up with competition, and that means being ready, having finances in order, and understanding the strategy before you head out there and make offers. We cover in a buyer strategy session with our clients how to do that. So comment buyer strategy, and we will send you a link to schedule. According to national housing data, home prices are projected to rise modestly in 2026 after several slower years. That aligns with what we're seeing locally. Activity is increasing, but it's measured.
This market will likely follow the same seasonal pattern that we've seen recently, or throughout history, really. Activity surges coming out of winter, peaks in the spring, and then levels off in the summer, and then slows way down in the winter. But more competitive than last year? Yes. Peak frenzy? No, with a few exceptions, of course.
A lot of buyers feel like the market crashed or is going to crash, but that is perception, not data. Nationally, prices are only down about 1.23% from March 2022 peak. That's essentially flat. Portland's a little further down than national numbers, but still feels overall flat. In 2022, appreciation was nearly 22%. In 2025, appreciation was about 1.23%. That's not a crash, that's normalization. The high appreciation was not sustainable and led us to the struggles that we have been dealing with for the past few years.
And in Portland specifically, prices have stabilized. We'll likely see a typical spring bump and then level off again. So if you've been sitting on the sidelines waiting for a massive drop, that data simply doesn't support the narrative.
And, just to rehash it, the last real estate crash was driven by bad lending practices and poor regulation. Today's lending standards are dramatically tighter. We have far more oversight in the mortgage industry. Yes, the economy has challenges, but housing is not the stock market. Supply remains limited, lending is regulated, and demand hasn't disappeared as we've seen with all this competition, right?
Now let's talk candidly for a moment. It still feels expensive. Affordability is tight. Even though rates have improved compared to their peak, buyers still feel the pinch, and everywhere.
But affordability is better than it was a year ago in many cases because rates have shifted down from their highs. That improvement, even modestly, is bringing buyers back into the market. The bigger struggle we're seeing, motivation. If you're shopping in a hot price point, understand if you're not ready to write competitive offers, you're going to spin your wheels. That's where strategy really matters. Let's talk benefit of the market today. Here's what buyers don't always realize. Portland currently has about 4 months of inventory. That is the highest we've seen in nearly 10 years. And that gives you options. So let's connect and figure out where the opportunities lie in your price point and area, because they're there.
So the homes that are priced and prepared well, you may see multiple offers, but often not the kind of extreme over asking situations we saw a few years ago. Some buyers have been saying lately that if a home isn't flying off the market, there must be something wrong with it. But we're not really seeing that because we're not in that kind of a market. There are higher days on market across the board, so don't be alarmed. And here's another benefit. Sellers are often negotiating to make a deal work. They're offering concessions or flexible terms. They're helping with closing costs. They're giving buyers days to think, not hours. And this has been a huge benefit for in the more balanced market. So that gives you time to think about it. But don't wait too long right now.
There are always outliers, but our job is filtering those for you. So now let's talk about first-time homebuyers. If you've been sitting on the fence for the past few years, you haven't missed much appreciation, right? Again, prices have held relatively flat with a few exceptions like Lake Oswego and hot neighborhoods like Sellwood. But luckily, this means you haven't been priced out, which did happen a lot, in 2020 when people waited and then the market went crazy. And you are still paying someone else's mortgage. Remember that. Historically, homeownership remains one of the top wealth building tools in America. The sooner you start building equity, the more powerful it becomes over time.
And for move-up buyers who feel stuck in that 3% mortgage, we're starting to see people accept the 5.5% because life is happening. Families are growing, jobs are changing. And if that's you, there are ways to structure a simultaneous buy and sell that makes sense. As always, it truly depends on your situation. And that's a strategy conversation that we can have in person.
So struggles we're seeing are if you are not motivated enough to compete when you need to, or you're simply scared. There's still a sense of fear, and that is really where a strong plan comes in. So comment buyer strategy, and we will send you a link to get started on yours.
Yeah. So if you have the means to buy and you're not a homeowner yet, every year you wait is a year not building equity.
If you've been stuck because of rates, 2026 might be the window that allows you to move forward. But it depends on your story, and that's what we care about.
At Hatch Homes, we don't just analyze the market, we help you write the next chapter of your homeownership story.
If you're thinking about buying in Portland this year, reach out. Let's have a no obligation strategy conversation and map out what makes sense for you, because the market isn't crashing and smart buyers move with strategy, not headlines.
Good stuff. Thank you so much for tuning in. Please like and subscribe and comment. We're happy to help you in any way you need.
See you next time. Mike is waiting for a blooper.
I think we already had some.
You know what I just realized? I forgot.
2026, after several slower years.
Pause,
please. That's good.